when I arrived at Sun in 1997, I went to work on this thing called the Java server. They came to me and said, well, we have some other people that are working on EJB, and we have people that are working on these other things that are super important. We know you're young, but are you up to the challenge? Can you do this? And I was like, hell yeah, let's go. And so I started working on what would become the servlet spec. Now, the mandate I was given was really kind of wide open. They just said, okay, we want you to do servlets. We want you to collaborate across everybody using them so we can make a formal spec out of it. And we want you to help drive adoption. And I was like, okay, yes, sir. And so what that meant was reaching out to everybody who was starting to use these things. And those were people ranging from IBM to BEA to WebLogic to the open source community, and pulled them together on a mailing list and say, okay, we're going to really tighten up the spec, and we're going to write a document, and we're going to define the behaviors of all these things. The way I thought we should do it was just, instead of trying to do like a formal company cartel kind of process, it was just like I really was interested in having individuals from each of these companies kind of participate and work together and really think about it. That ended up becoming very important. And at the same time, it was like, okay, so we have a specification, we need a reference implementation. And for a little bit, there was folks at Sun that were saying, well, we have the Java web server. And I made the argument that, well, it's a commercial product. You have to buy it. We're not shipping the source out for it. How can something that people can't see the source to be a reference implementation for a spec that we want? We want people to be able to not only have the spec and the Java docket of the API, we want them to be able to see the source code of how we think these things should be implemented. So I started developing this thing. On the outside, it was called the JSWDK. It was the Java Servlet Java Servlet Web Development Kit. I mean, what a name. It was a really bad name. Internally, though, it was in a directory that I had called Tomcat. And so I wrote a couple of revisions to this, and I shipped it out to the working group that we had for the Servlet API, and started gearing it up for putting it out for real. And one of the people that was on the working group was Jason Hunter. He was the guy who was writing the book about servlets for O'Reilly. And I had pulled him in as an independent. I looked at him and I was like, wow, you're writing a book on this thing. You're using it. You know all sorts of things. You've been thinking about it. So maybe you could help me test it. He was like, yeah, sure, I'll help you test it. And he took absolute glee in finding all the ways in which my little Tomcat wasn't actually correct. And we worked it through, and we really got those first few versions of Tomcat up and running. And it wasn't in the open, obviously, but it wasn't just a Sun thing, and it wasn't just a me at Sun thing. It was me at Sun, but I was getting checked by an industry expert. So it was kind of like the missing bridge between what was happening on the client and what was happening in the rest of a big enterprise system. So you could take this model that would take a web request in and then go do whatever you needed to do against your business systems, and then package up a web response and ship it back out. And it was a really small, tight, elegant API that did exactly what it needed to do, and at the time, no more. Now, the work that we did on servlets was, it was a precursor to what became known as the JCP, the Java Community Process. I didn't know it when they first gave me the task of going out and pulling together this stuff, but there's other people at Sun, Ono Clute and others, who were trying to standardize a process, or trying to figure out what a written process should be for developing and improving Java. But I was kind of like a test bed. It ended up serving as a test bed where I pulled together both companies and industry experts, and had the idea of having a reference implementation and a specification, and really making something work within the community that way, and gathering the community. And so even though I wasn't aware that JCP was about to happen, doing this stuff and working on this stuff really gave a lot of information to the people that were doing the JCP to really affect it and shape it and mold it. And so, yeah, it was something that I wasn't quite aware of at first, that I was like a guinea pig, but it was really fun for that work to serve as a guinea pig for what became the Java Community Process.